all, I'd like to welcome you and also congratulate you on a clear audit and on the chapter. And the issues have been raised in relation to the revaluation programme. So I'm going to use my time to zone in on questions. And I apologise if I appear abrupt. It's simply to get questions in. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the IT. And the major theme of the Controller General's chapter is the absence of mechanisms or procedures to identify the cost of the revaluation programme. You accept that completely? Okay. And you've answered to Deputy Castles that the IT system will change that. And I didn't hear anything about time. When is that going to happen? Has it gone to procurement? What's happening in relation to that?
Yeah, thanks, Deputy, for the question. Yes, we would have been aware of this, and it was highlighted as well by the CNAG.
When is it going to change?
We have to put a business case to the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. We'll be doing that very, very shortly.
So no business case has been done yet?
No. What has happened is we have an external report done which has identified the need to do this, and this is just one of the recommendations in the report that we need this kind of functionality. There are systems out there that we would have to procure. Typically, procurement after we go to the market would typically take 6 months. So we certainly hope to have this in place before we start the next batch of revaluations, which will be at the end of 2019. As you know, we're in train now for a number at the moment. We already have, quite significant ICT systems in place that just don't have that particular costing functionality that we would very much like to have as well.
Well, just our angle here is value for money. And
Sorry?
that's our angle, or not our angle,
yes.
our purpose is value for money. And what's been highlighted to us is there's an absence in your department in relation to actually telling us what is the cost of the revaluation programme and how then we can assess that in terms of the pilot project that's going to go ahead. Or sorry, the one that's gone ahead, is it Kilkenny, Carlow? That was outsourced.
Yeah.
And it has been referred to. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
I've read all it. I've read it all. So I want to know how we can be in a position, or how we can, to analyse the cost effectiveness of what's happening in-house as opposed to out-house. And let me place on the record, I'm absolutely against outsourcing from an ideological, but that's just my own background. So I'm not here to demonise a public body. I'm here to try and establish how we can see if there's value for money. So, wait a second. So, ye know this in this department. Where is the responsibility? Is the delay with ye? Is it with the minister? Is it with us politicians in relation to putting in an effective system that has been identified quite some time now by the Controller and Auditor General? When did this report come out? Sorry, Chair. When did the report come out, this chapter?
Published in September. 30th of September.
Okay. September 17. So, what was the urgent response to that? To the Minister or to whoever is over you in relation to procuring the IT system?
Okay. First of all, it would not be correct to say that we do not know the cost of revaluations.
Okay.
We cost revaluations all the time. The mechanism, however, there are limitations with the mechanism we use, which is really apportioning the cost.
That's right, the breakdown of it.
The breakdown, yes. And
that.
what we really need to be able to do is to move from a situation at the moment where we apportion costs across salaries and other subheads to one where we can track it based on activity.
We know that. When is that happening?
The purpose of that is to go to the market after we secure the funding from the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, which will be the subject of a business case.
So the business case hasn't gone to the Department of Public...
The business case is now being formulated and will go to the Department in the coming months. And then
who's working on that business case?
Our office are.
Okay.
This is entirely happening within the valuation office.
Good. When did that process start and when will it be completed?
The process started with a review that was conducted, a new ICT strategy, which was done in tandem. It was happening at the same time as the Chapter 11 was being formulated. Okay. And that strategy was published in December, and we started working on that then.
So when will the business case be completed?
We expect the business case to be completed certainly by the end of February. By
the end of February, then it will be before the Minister?
Yes, and the department and deeper as well.
Before deeper?
Yeah.
So by March it's out of your hands and it's before the department? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. What's the staff complement? Okay,
I'll ask Ms Smith who has all the figures.
At the end of December, our staff complement was 128 people and 125.25 actually FTE.
I beg your pardon, I just heard 128.
Sorry, 128 actual bodies, and
yes.
the whole-time equivalent was 125.25.
Okay. How many of those are valuers?
Approximately 70.
70.
valuers, yeah.
Have you enough valuers on the ground to enable you to carry out the revaluation project?
Well, we
No, just a simple question. Have you or not?
we're currently recruiting additional.
Have you or have you not enough valuers?
We're currently recruiting, so we hope to have
can I
several
take
more.
it from that you don't have enough valuers to carry out the project?
One could always do with additional.
This is very important. We have a report here that's the Deputy Castles has already given out the money involved, and on every level this is very important, although it's difficult for us to read it when we're not experts. It's very important to the businesses who are paying the rates. It's also very important for your staff who have a statutory duty to act in a just way, and I'm paraphrasing the law. So there's an onerous responsibility on the staff in relation to producing a certificate that they can stand over. And to do that, you're less than halfway through the project. So the number of premises to be assessed, 180,000 to be assessed, and you've done 78,000. Is that right?
Yeah, the estimate, the total number of properties out there before we do the revaluation would have been 180,000, but many of those would not have been rateable for a long time.
I'm going to come back to that because you expect
we think 160,000 is
I wanted that. Why is that? Why is it?
That's because a revaluation hasn't been done heretofore in some of the counties. There are properties still nominally on the list that are no longer rateable. Some of them, for example, would be elements of domestic premises that would have been rateable at one point.
So there'll be a reduction in that from 180 to 160.
Yes.
Okay. And so by September 2017, you had 78,000. 43% were finished.
Yes.
Okay. So more than half still to be done. What staff do you need to do that, given the importance of this?
We have identified in 2017 the requirements from a staffing point of view, and we're very close to achieving those now. We hope to take on 7 additional staff as a result of a competition which we have run very recently. We also have another competition underway for a higher grade of staff associated with that, and that's the staffing complement we intend to have and to deploy. A lot of what we are doing involves technology as well as staff, of course. Yes. But you make the point quite rightly that having well-trained staff who are very professional at what they do is an absolute sine qua non.
Yeah, well, see, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the accounts and the chapter, and you talk about restoring a credible service. Mm-hmm. So just let me get the quote from that. The Vote 16 Valuation Office on page 11. Okay, and under administration pay, and there's an explanation. A recruitment campaign for 10 additional valuer staff was held early in 2016, but have we got that there?
Yeah.
Yeah, only 4 were ultimately appointed. Now, you were looking for 10, you only got 4. So clearly there's a big gap here in staff. Just let me make a comment, and I listen to your answer. I'm reading this with horror because I'm looking at the amount of premises that have to be assessed, and I'm looking here that you had a recruitment staff for 10, only 4 were appointed from the competition. A further campaign is planned in early 17, so you're going to give me an update on that. And then the important thing, there was a provision in the estimate to pay £0.2 million for a restructuring of staffing levels to restore credible structure. I want you to deal with that for me. And then deal with, due to a protracted discussions, it doesn't make sense to me, due to protracted discussions with staff interests. Doesn't quite make sense, but no progress was made on this issue until late 16. Both of these issues resulted in a significant variance from planned expenditure. Can you elaborate on that?
First of all, in relation to the credible structure, our structure had changed from about 2011 to 2016, and therefore we had to replenish it. We had a lot of people had left the organisation on foot of the various retirement programmes, etc. So we had to replenish our capacity, and as a result of that, we had an engagement with the staff associations and the unions, which took longer than we had anticipated, as a result of which then the money that was earmarked for some of the changes in the structure there didn't get expended in that year. However, that was by year end, that was all sorted, and throughout 2017 we ran a further recruitment programme, and as a result of that, Ms Smith will give us the details here. We have taken on additional staff.
How many additional staff did you take on?
We took on 9 staff from the second competition.
9 staff. Yeah. And what-
So 13 altogether came in 2017.
Okay.
And we have 7 additional staff now. We have requested 7 additional staff from the Public Appointment Service from a competition that they ran.
And when that has to go through.
It concluded in January, just in this month.
You made a request, is it, to approve the process of recruiting
So
them?
they're in clearance at the moment. There are 7 people in clearance at the moment. Yeah.
So, okay. Now go back.
Competition has been run and the appointments.
Okay. Go back
offers
to
have
the
been made.
original one in the recruitment campaign when you only got 4 out of 10. Why was that?
I suppose that one of the factors would be that there is probably a shortage of appointments.
Okay. Go back
offers
to
have
the
been made.
original one in the recruitment campaign when you only got 4 out of 10. Why was that?
I suppose that one of the factors would be that there is probably a shortage of graduates in the built environment sector at the moment. And
Are you telling me that they didn't come forward? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, we didn't have. We weren't in a position to make all the appointments we'd like to make. We didn't have the number of applicants that we would have liked to have had who would have had the qualifications. These were graduate positions at the grade of value or grade 3.
Okay, and was it the recruitment campaign that was at fault? Because the second time round you got the staff.
Yes, I think there would have been a new cohort of people on the scene as well by the time we ran the second competition.
So it was the fact that people were available the second time round, nothing to do with the recruitment campaign or what you looked for the first time round?
Yeah, there was no problem with the recruitment process, just the numbers weren't there. It's very keen out there in the market at the moment in terms of recruiting graduate valuers.
Okay. In relation to inspections on the ground, sorry, just let me clarify something again. There are onerous duties here on your office. There's the revaluation programme, that's the subject of the chapter. Then you're constantly doing revisions if they're requested by the occupier, the owner or the local authority. So that's an ongoing programme. And then separately for that you have new buildings or amalgamated buildings that would require a rating, is that right? So a building that's demolished and a new business goes up on it. Would there be a new business?
Yes, it would depend. It could be an existing business as an extension, or it could be a brand new building.
So they require assessment as well.
Yeah.
And then you have a separate role in relation to the government buildings to do valuations on those. Yeah. Okay. And your total staff for all of that work?
128 at the moment.
128, and that's going to rise to?
135.
135. And will that be your full complement?
Our full complement would be of the order of 140.
140. So to carry out all of that work in an efficient, effective manner, in a just way, requires 140. Yes. So you're way short of that.
We're a number short of it,
okay.
yes.
All right. Okay. Now,
but I should outline it's also about optimising our processes and procedures, and we're very much doing that at the moment as well.
I hope that's going ahead anyway. So I'm only looking, I'm trying to just read what I'm reading and see. And it's very difficult on staff to carry out a job if they don't. It's onerous on them. So let me go back to inspections in relation to the job of the valuer. How many get out to actually inspect the site that they're putting a valuation on?
I'll ask Mr. Lavelle just to go into some of the details here.
Okay.
Can I just, Deputy, just to clarify the question, is it what percentage of properties are inspected during a revaluation or otherwise?
Well, you're the expert, so my word is inspection, and I'm hoping you're going to enlighten me as to what properties are inspected.
To go into the detail.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Deputy. You referred there to the 3 areas of our work: revaluation, revision, which is whereby we bring valuations up to date.
Mr. Lavelle, just in relation to inspections, if you could tell me.
Yes, but in the 3 areas, what I was going to say, Deputy, was that when it comes to a revision where a new property comes on stream or that or an existing property is extended, all those properties are inspected by our valuers to bring that data up to date.
So in that context of revisions, they're all inspected?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in terms of the government-related work, in other words, the market valuations, the non-statutory function, again, all those properties are inspected.
Okay.
When we conduct a revaluation in a particular rating authority area, we usually inspect somewhere approximately 25% of those properties. Okay. What we're looking at there is looking at rental information, rental transactions, verifying the details around those transactions and verifying the property that those letting agreements relate to. We don't inspect 100% of properties at revaluation because we already have a database that confirms the data we hold on these properties. So what we're trying to do is we're establishing what we would call the valuation norms in a particular area by reference to a number of transactions. So generally speaking, to do that, we inspect about 20% of properties.
20?
20% at,
Okay.
at the revaluation stage.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that every property on the valuation list has been inspected by our office at least once.
Okay, just 1 second now. So thank you very much for the clarification. Revisions all get inspections. Government property all get inspections. Revaluation, it's at 20%. And you rely on other sources of data to help you make your decision.
No.
No?
Sorry. We're inspecting the properties at revaluation because we have transactions on those properties or trading data, and we are inspecting the property to confirm the relationship between that data or that lease agreement and that particular property, because we analyse those transactions and then the analysis of that is applied.
Let me stop. Where am I wrong here? I appreciate you're giving me 3 clarifications. 2 we're not arguing about, and the third one, hopefully, I'm not arguing about. I'm simply seeking elucidation on it. So.
Okay.
20% was the figure you used for the revisions, for the property that revaluations, the properties that are subject to revaluation. 20% have an on-site inspection, manual inspection. Okay.
Yes.
And so I'm not misunderstanding that. I'm not misunderstanding that. Okay. And then that's to check out information you've been given in terms of trading and all the other criteria that you use.
Yes.
Okay. What would be a good practice in relation to the number of inspections?
At revaluation, that would be pretty much in line with best international practice, probably a little bit beyond best international practice. In an ideal world, we would hope that as we go through successive revaluations, that might come down to nearer maybe.
And so you're relying, just spell out the criteria then that you're relying on.
At that element of the project, we are looking at lease information that we hold on certain properties.
Yeah.
Okay, and in some cases, for a certain class of property, we're looking at trading data, because for certain properties, it is not the size of the property that drives the value, it is the trading data that drives the value.
Okay. And of those revaluations, how many have been appealed?
Sorry?
How many? What's the appeal rate? It was 4 or 8?
Our appeal rate across the Reval 2017 projects is just a little bit in excess of 4%.
4%. And have you looked at the errors made?
Well, I suppose if you look at the process in terms of those appeals...
Have you looked at the errors made?
Yes.
Errors made.
We,
okay.
we,
what are the themes emerging from that? The type of errors being made in valuations?
Usually, I'm not too sure I would actually call it an error,
okay.
but generally speaking, what we have is that the property has changed to some minor degree, okay, since the last time we looked at it. Okay, so it's usually things of that nature, or perhaps what has happened is that the particular lease transaction or letting agreement, right, was not provided to us at the early stage of a project, and then that information is provided to us now.
Okay.
This usually happens, maybe if I go back a step, Deputy, during the revaluation process, after we do the initial analysis, we issue what we call proposed valuation source to all the ratepayers.
Yeah, there's a process.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Okay. And usually at that stage, then ratepayers will give us, in some cases, information that we didn't have heretofore. Okay. And that will lead our valuers, in some instances, recalibrating the valuation levels that they've applied.
So rather than an error, you're saying just lack of information or more?
Yes.
So there are no errors made in assessing the size of the building that's been rated?
That would be very rare. The building may have changed since the last time we were there, right? Something very minor, but not significant.
I see the chair looking at me. So just City, the 43% have been completed. Where are we in relation to Galway City and County? Number 1. Number 2, there's a review, an independent review promised for the Carlow Kilkenny one that was outsourced. Why is there a delay on that? Why hasn't it started? That's number 2. And the third one was also in relation to the self-assessment. Just clarification on that one. It's Laois, is it? It's the pilot project. Oh, so you'll be following up on that, Chair. So,
Okay. Just confirming in reverse order, Laois is the pilot county for the self-assessment.
I leave that for the Chair now.
Yes,
I use my time for the other two.
In relation to the independent review, the independent review will not only consider Carlow and Kilkenny, but also the other revaluation projects that were done in-house. And when we say the project is done, it's done except for the appeals. There's still ongoing work associated with the revaluation. So the contractor that was contracted to carry out the Carlow Kilkenny revaluation is still on board in order to pursue the appeals arising from that. So it's incorrect to say like that they have actually left the project.
I'm not incorrect. I'm asking you about the review and why it's taken so long. So you're clarifying now.
No, now's the right time to have it.
Okay.
At the end of quarter
Just
one.
listen to me. I'm asking a specific question about a review. Why has it been delayed? And you're explaining, well, look, it's not delayed because... No, you're not, so I accept that.
Yep.
So when will the review start and will it be completed? So that you can go back to the kernel of what the chapter before us is about, value for money.
The review will be conducted before the end of March.
Before the end of March. Before
the end of March. It's part of our strategic plan. It's a commitment in that. We will commission an outside body to help us to write it, and it will include looking at factors like value for money and the cost associated with it.
You're doing that internally with the help of an outsider to write the report.
Yes.
You're conducting the analysis.
Yeah, we will be giving the figures. Obviously, the contractor who did Carlow and Kilkenny will be feeding their figures as well into the equation there.
The city and the county Galway.
Galway is part of what we call Reval 2021, starting in 2019 and ending in 2021. It's part of. I provided a map.
You did. I have read all that. So when will it start in Galway?
It would be October. The plans would be October 2019.
Okay.
Ending.
For the city and county?
Yes, the intention would be to do 6 counties with 8 local authorities in them. So down the western seaboard, Donegal, Mayo, Galway, the 2 Galway local authorities.
October 19.
Clare,
Okay.
Kerry and Cork.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Speaker's Deputy.